So I want to welcome each and every one of you to this live. Okay, I'm excited to get on this evening. Okay, um, and so I want to welcome you to tonight's live. Okay, we're talking about something that affects 90% of adults, and most people don't even know that they have it. That's the scary part. Let me make sure. Looks like I need to plug in my phone. Sorry, guys. And so welcome to tonight's live. I appreciate each and every one of you for hopping on. And so we're talking about, let me see if I can change this up. Excuse me, folks. Okay, let's see here. Okay. Taylor NTX, how are you doing? And so my name is Troy, and we're talking about something that affects over 90% of us. Most people don't even know that they have it. But before I jump in, tell me where you're tuning in from. Okay, drop your city or state in the chat or country. I'm always curious to where people are located around the world. And if your health hasn't been where you want it to be, folks, okay, stay with me, because this could be one of the most important conversations that you hear this year. Okay, so now if you know someone who is struggling, go ahead and share this live with them so that they can listen, they can ask questions too. Okay, I'm going to share something personal with you. And I truly hope and pray that it helps you to avoid some of the mistakes that I made. You know, Solomon said in the Bible, in all your gaining, gain understanding. And gaining understanding around how the body actually works completely changed my life. Right? For most of my life, I was dealing with insulin resistance, right? The symptoms. I didn't understand. And no one ever explained the real connection between them. And so what I eventually learned was something called insulin resistance. It is a metabolic condition that unfortunately is now incredibly common, right? Unfortunately, this is something that is affecting so many people, okay? And it's associated with things like weight struggles, blood sugar issues, hormone imbalances, cardiovascular risk, okay? And you don't want to know the shocking part, folks, is most people are never directly tested for this. Delsis Medina, thank you for hopping on. The shocking part is that most people are not even tested for insulin resistance. And most people don't even know that they have it. Now, I've had some close calls with my health, right? And once I finally understood what was happening metabolically, everything started to make sense. Okay? Folks, if you are struggling with your health in some way, this information that I'm sharing could change your life. And if there's somebody that you know and love and care about that needs to hear this, feel free to share this live with them so that they can hop on, they can listen, they can ask questions. Okay. But I'm super grateful for the opportunity that I have to be on tonight and share something that I truly believe can make the biggest impact in your health. Okay. So over the past year, really 2 years, okay, I have focused on improving my insulin sensitivity. Okay. my energy, my labs, okay? The quality of life changed, you know? And I'll be honest, this is why I do these lives. Not to scare people, but to give information that I wish I had earlier. And here's something that surprised me, folks. When people go to the doctor and cholesterol is elevated, medication is often discussed first. You guys realize that there are millions of Americans on lipid lowering medications, and for many people, they're helpful and necessary. But what most people aren't told is that nutrition and metabolic health play a major role too. And one of the most interesting things that I came across was a clinical study conducted with support from the Cleveland Clinic, which happens to be the #1 heart hospital in the world. I love talking about this. I wish that people knew the information. Here's why understanding insulin resistance matters. Because in the United States, over 90%, 93% of people are metabolically unhealthy. Seriously, think about this. Nearly 3 out of 4 adults are overweight or obese, and more than half are diabetic or pre-diabetic. We're even seeing Dravin and Kayshard, KS Heard, thank you for hopping on. Okay. We're seeing these issues show up earlier in kids and teens, right? This isn't personal failure, folks. This is a metabolic environment problem. You know, it's interesting that, the Bible tells us that good trees can't produce bad fruit. But folks, the fruit is high cholesterol, fatigue, it is blood pressure, it's blood sugar issues, it's hormone problems. And the tree itself, right, the root, very often is insulin resistance. And if we never address the root, the fruit keeps coming back. Does that make sense? And I'm talking, and I want you guys to think about your own health. Drop a 1 if energy or weight has been a struggle. Drop 2 in the chat if cholesterol or blood pressure has come up. And put a number 3 if blood sugar cravings or crashes sound more familiar to you. Okay? If you wouldn't mind taking a second and doing that. So I want to ask the question again. Okay. I want you guys to drop a 1 in the chat if your energy or weight has been a struggle. Okay. If you struggle with your weight, I want you to put the number 2 in the chat if cholesterol or blood pressure is something that has come up. And I want you to put the number 3 in the chat if your blood sugar or cravings or crashes sound more familiar to you. I want you guys to understand that you're not alone and you're not broken. Okay. Tonight, I'm going to walk you through 2 simple foundations that support insulin sensitivity. And I'm going to share a nutritional tool that's helped people around the world simplify this process. Stick with me, okay? And feel free to ask questions, put questions in the chat, and let's learn together, okay? So, what is insulin? Insulin, folks, is a hormone that acts like a key to unlock your cells so that our body can get the energy that it needs, right? There's only 2 stages of life where you want to be insulin resistant. That's puberty and pregnancy, because it helps your body grow during these stages. But after that, too much insulin becomes a major problem. And why is this a problem? It's a problem because half of us have prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. And chronic conditions like obesity and cardiovascular disease and autoimmune disorders, they are skyrocketing. But it's not just physical health, folks. Infertility, PCOS, even mental health issues like anxiety are linked to insulin resistance. And I want you guys to understand that far too often we are just given medications for each symptom, but they don't fix the root cause, which is insulin resistance. So let's change that today. And folks, if you're struggling with health issues like kidney disease, or you've been recently diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, or maybe you've lived with it for years and you're wondering when it's going to end, I'm here to help. I offer a natural approach that serves as an alternative to the medications that doctors prescribe, like Ozempic or metformin. Okay? Folks, infertility is a growing concern. It increases by 1% each year in the United States. Younger people are facing erectile dysfunction. More women are dealing with PCOS, which happens to be the leading cause of infertility for women. Aging doesn't have to mean a slowing metabolism. Tonight, I'm going to share 2 simple ways to start reversing insulin resistance and see real changes in your health. Plus, I'll introduce a tool that's been highly effective for many people struggling with this issue. Now, too often, people are treated separately for each symptom with meds, but the root cause remains unaddressed. So why are we all struggling with this? Okay. So, a friend of mine used to work as the director of a heart hospital for over a decade. And during that time, none of her patients with high blood pressure or high cholesterol were able to stop their medications. And this is because the root cause wasn't being discussed or treated. It was just a Band-Aid solution. See, most doctors aren't talking about insulin resistance, which happens to be the root cause behind a lot of those issues. No one talks about it. And this is why I'm passionate about sharing this information with you, because you could have the symptoms from insulin resistance and never even know, because medication alone doesn't truly heal the body. Folks, in the United States, we are seeing rising rates of obesity and diabetes and cardiovascular disease, autoimmune conditions. It almost seems that everyone is affected by these issues. So let's talk about the solutions. The first step is understanding your symptoms and connecting them to the root cause. Once you do that, we can start finding real solutions. And if any of these symptoms resonates with you, folks, put a 1 in the chat, and let's dive into what's really going on and how we can fix it. These might hit home for some of you, so be honest with yourself, right? How many of these do you struggle with? A lot of people are dealing with these issues and don't even realize that they are connected to one thing. How many of you have skin issues like psoriasis, skin tags, the dark patches on your neck or armpits that won't wash off, or adult acne? What about stubborn weight, especially around your midsection, right? That won't budge no matter what you do. That's because insulin is a fat storing hormone. And until you manage insulin, losing that belly fat's going to be really tough. What about high blood pressure and cholesterol issues? These are all linked to insulin resistance. But guess what your doctor is likely to do? Okay? Your doctor is likely to give you meds. Rarely do they ever talk about fixing the root cause so that your blood pressure and your cholesterol can normalize naturally. How many of you have migraines or headaches? Aches and pains? What about inflammation? Things like plantar fasciitis, bursitis, colitis, right? What about PCOS, erectile dysfunction? We talked about these, like low testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, right? All of these could be signs of insulin resistance. What about hypoglycemia, fibromyalgia? And here's a big one, type 3 diabetes. Have you ever heard of it? It's actually insulin resistance of the brain. It's linked to Alzheimer's and dementia. And you know what's scary? Is that it can take 10 to 20 years before insulin resistance even leads to a diabetes diagnosis. But the good news is that you can take action to prevent it. If you've ever been diagnosed with prediabetes or type 2, that's a huge red flag, right? Here's the thing, these symptoms aren't just normal aging. Okay, they're signals from your body that something is off, and insulin resistance could be the culprit. And if you have diabetes, folks, your risk for cardiovascular disease, it goes up by 80%. Your risk for Alzheimer's, dementia, it goes up by 81. Gregor Bubby, thank you for hopping on. If any of these sound familiar, folks, you're not alone, okay? Insulin is an out of control fire in your body, just like how the smoke, folks, signals that there is a fire. When we focus on putting the fire out, right, we address the root cause, the smoke or the symptoms will start to dissipate. But treating the symptoms, right, treating the symptoms without actually addressing the root cause, it's only causing these issues to get bigger. It's no different, right? It's crucial to listen to the body's warning signals, much like you would respond to a flashing check engine light in your car. We can choose to ignore the warnings, but eventually we're going to face bigger issues. So how do we manage the excess insulin in our bodies, right? And a major contributor to this is our habit of constantly eating throughout the day. How many of us were taught to eat 3 meals a day and a snack 2 to 3 times throughout the day? Right? This eating pattern has become ingrained in our routines. But the reality is that very few people are in perfect health. Now, while we might be living longer, it's not just about longevity, it's about how good you feel as we age. Because our body is capable of healing itself, but if we don't start making changes, your health will derail down the line. It's not if and when, it's right. It's going to happen. So let me ask you a question. What is the most important meal of your day? If you wouldn't mind, type that in the chat. What is the most important meal of your day? And while you're doing that, let me recommend a couple books. Why We Get Sick by Dr. Ben Bickman, right? This is a book that I highly recommend. Let me move this over here. Sorry, folks. Okay. Why We Get Sick, okay, by Dr. Benjamin Bickman. Okay. He's a leading scientist in the world when it comes to insulin resistance. He talks about this. He talks about what we can do to start healing our body from the inside, right? What are some things that we can do that can help improve our health naturally? Folks, I love talking about this because there's so many people around the world that are affected by their health. And thank you to everyone who is hopping on this live. If you wouldn't mind, drop your location in the chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from. So why do we continue to have these? So let me ask you guys a question. You know, this is something that's, I think, has been debated for a really long time. Are carbohydrates essential? I'm curious, what do you think? Let me know in the comments. If you are struggling with your health, folks, Folks, I hope and pray that if you are struggling with your health, it helps you to avoid the same mistakes that I've made. I didn't know what insulin resistance was because nobody talks about it. And yet it affects 93% of us. And if you have a doctor that is talking to you about insulin resistance, hold on to them, because the sad reality is that most medical professionals, they don't talk about this. But if you do, hold on to them. Folks, I love talking about this. I wish that I knew this 20 years ago. My dad would most likely still be here. My brother would still be here. And thank you to everyone who is tapping the screen. I appreciate that. I really do appreciate each and every one of you for hopping on this live. I didn't know what insulin resistance is until I sat across from the doctor, and the doctor's telling me of the health issues that I have. Had no idea. And folks, if if you're ready for change, and if you're looking for a way to start improving your health that doesn't require a diet or medication or feeling like you have to go and do 2-a-days at the gym, okay? I've got a natural solution for you that can help you to lower your insulin levels. It can help improve your energy. It can start to help you to see real results without crazy diets or extreme exercise. Okay? I love talking about this. And here's the truth, it all comes down to insulin. When we have too much insulin in our bodies, our cells become resistant to it. So how do we control insulin? Now there's two key ways: fasting and getting more fiber. Fiber is crucial, right? Because our bodies are getting less than half. And fiber, right? When you have fiber, this is where the magic starts to happen inside our bodies, because fiber can't digest, right? And that's a good thing, because what it does is it helps to slow down the absorption of the sugar and the carbs from the foods that we eat. But if we're eating 3 meals a day and we're snacking 2 to 3 times throughout the day, it creates a major problem. It does. Folks, I want you to understand that I'm living proof that you can have stage 4 kidney disease, you can have migraines, you can have acid reflux, you can have all of these health issues, and you can improve it in ways that diets and calorie restrictions would never be able to fix or improve. How many of you have lost loved ones from cancer or diabetes or heart disease? I wish I knew this a long time ago. And folks, if you are affected and if you're looking for an alternative to what your doctor is prescribing, you came to the right live. I really do appreciate each and every one of you that are hopping on. I appreciate that. There's two key ways that you can improve and become insulin sensitive. And these aren't the only two ways, but these are two very helpful ways. Fasting, right? Fasting is one of the quickest ways to start regulating your insulin levels. And the concept is simple. You don't eat for an extended period of time. You allow your body to start burning fat rather than sugar. And if you're somebody that's new to fasting, I encourage people to fast. Begin with a 13 to 14 hour fast. Use your sleep time as part of that fast, and then gradually extend it by an hour or two. When you break your fast, focus on consuming high quality protein and fats. And if you choose to eat carbohydrates, save them for the end, because they cause the biggest spike in your blood sugar. Folks, I hope and pray that what I've shared has given you some insight in what you can do to start improving your health naturally. And if you're looking for an alternative, you just found it. If this resonates with you, if this sounds like what you've been looking for, you don't have to wait to fix your health. Okay. Thank you to those that were hopping on this live tonight. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. I hope and pray that you guys have a good night. I'll be on tomorrow morning, first thing tomorrow morning.